Okay, so my name is Taylor Simpson. Regarding the feedback that my partner Katie has given me. So I accept, and then I feel like some things that were discussed, you would understand if I probably put a little more detail into the lesson plan. So once I did my final draft, I went ahead and made things a little more clear. And this was an introductory lesson, so it's kind of more of like I'm introducing the topics, and then as the weeks go on, we're going to take one community at a time and kind of dissect it, and then the kids are going to know all the characteristics of that community, and then we're going to end up making a flip chart and a flip book for the kids. And then we're actually doing it next week. They're going to be able to build their own community with like milk cartons from the cafeteria, and like they get to build their own community and present it to the class. So this lesson, it was kind of hard for me to write out in so much detail because the fact that this is an introductory lesson. So they hadn't learned this in first grade. They hadn't been introduced to this at all. This is the first time that they're hearing about the communities and their characteristics. So as far as your feedback, it was really good. I made some changes based off of it. I added my ELL learning modifications, and I only have one English language learner in my class. And actually when I taught the lesson, he was absent. So I had everything prepared for him, but he wasn't there. So in the video, I had everything on the side, but he wasn't there for me to give it to him. And he would have still been doing everything that everybody else was doing. He would have just had the modification of the PowerPoint and the extra pictures and stuff like that. And I also feel like my lesson was a very good lesson for ELLs and mainstream kids, because we did a lot of stuff with visuals. So as kids, they're really motivated to do visual stuff. Like we did a whole anchor chart together, and we did characteristics, and they were super excited to put their characteristic on it, and everybody got to have their own characteristic. And so that was a really good thing. And one of the influences that I got into was motivation, because once the students are motivated to do something, then I feel like their effort and them actually learning excuse me, them actually learning becomes fun, and they have a good connection with it. And then also Katie said that make sure that the pictures are something that they can relate to, which is what I did. So for the suburban community, I literally took pictures of their apartments that are around the school. I took a picture of their school. I took a picture of the park, and I placed it. So they were like, hey, that's my house, or that's that, and that's the park we go to. And then I was like, well, y'all know y'all live in a suburban community. So they made that connection, and they got to make that real world connection. And I also think that was very important. And so I understand I should have put in more detail, or I could have just added the PowerPoint that I was going to use so that other people could look at it and see what I was using, because the kids really got on to that about, hey, I know that that's right around the corner from my house, or that is my house, so they got to make those connections. And then also, since this was an introductory lesson, and the way that we teach at our school, since we're self-contained, we only have a certain amount of time, so it's really hard that we actually teach every subject for the amount of time that we have that day. So before I taught my lesson, we did the what do I know, what I want to know, and what am I going to learn, the KWL chart. So I didn't know whether I put that in there because I wasn't teaching that. I taught it, but that wasn't the lesson that I was teaching. So I could have stated previously to this lesson that the students had filled out a chart to say what they already knew, because Wright mentions that one of the first ways to make social studies instruction easier is to find out what they already know. So that's kind of what I did, is and then I realized they didn't know anything. So because this was an introductory lesson, so that's we kind of took that and we just made it to where we're going to introduce all of these to you. We're going to get you to see the pictures and connect, and then you're going to be able to learn more about the communities as we go. So, oh, and then you had said that well, Katie had said that my objective should be measurable, and I kind of, like I said, it's kind of weird because it's an introductory lesson, and so like I could be able to tell based off my closure, if you watch the video, that I had the kids vote thumbs up if you felt confident, you know, in the middle if you didn't feel very confident, and thumbs down. So that introductory lesson kind of shows like, okay, we can spend more time on this community. The kids got rural community automatic. They're like, it's quiet, there's a lot of land. They had trouble identifying between urban and suburban. And in the video, one of the kids had said, well, one of the characteristics that they had to put on the chart was, I live in an apartment. I implied it to go in the urban community, but they live in an apartment and they live in a suburban. So then I had to deeply explain. At first we put it in the middle because I was like, either or you could, but we kind of went through it together at the end and talked about you know, in the urban, there's more like apartments and tall buildings, and there's apartments really, really close together. Y'all have, in the suburban, y'all have like an apartment complex, and down the street you have apartment complex. Y'all don't have apartments. So that's kind of something that we had to break down, but we had to see what they knew first, and like Wright said, that's what we did. And yeah, so I fixed my lesson plan. I took in your advice for some things, and then I just felt like if I explained it, you would kind of understand, because when you were going through, you're like, I'm a little confused, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of weird the way we do stuff. And then also we use computers, and in this lesson I didn't have them use computers. So I hope everything was cleared up, and I hope y'all enjoy my video. And yes, thank you.